Hello, 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 everybody. It's your boy, Jmulls of Jmulls Gaming, here today to talk about a question that I'm sure many people out there are probably wondering. Why is Persona 5 so beloved? The game, blew up when it first launched, and then it just only gained more popularity with Royal. I tend to find for a lot of very popular games, if you're not in that initial hype wave, you always wonder, well, what is it about this game that is drawing everybody's attention to it? Many people out there might have different reasons for liking the game than me. I can only give you my opinions, my preferences, and my observations. So, let's start off with the most obvious thing, the thing you will notice at the very beginning. This game is super stylized. Like, every facet, every pore, every orifice of this game is almost like oozing personality. They don't leave anything to just be. Nothing's generic. Everything is designed to further illustrate the style of this game. The main menu, the options, the sound design, every little facet of this game. Hell, even the screen that shows you leveling up and all that. That's stylized. And sure, on the surface it may not seem like it's all that important, but over time, it helps add this sense of immersion into the game, where you never feel that sense of immersion breaking. You always are gripped by the world and its setting. And not to mention just the visuals, but the music to accompany them is absolutely phenomenal. It uses the music to augment how you are feeling, and it does so in such a way where you are almost always, at least for me, feeling how the game wants you to feel at any given moment. And that's a powerful thing when a game can do that correctly and truly grip you, the player, into its world and make you almost feel exactly how it wants you to feel at any given point, because then it can tell a compelling story around those feelings because it knows how you'll feel. It knows what kind of headspace you will be in, and it's able to accurately pace the story accordingly. There's so many small details throughout this game that just add up with one another to create this cohesive whole that is known as Persona 5. Because it's not just that, the characters are also very well developed. They're introduced almost all in nearly a perfect way. And at least for me, with the English voices, every voice hits, every voice lands, and makes you care more about the story, because that's the power of good voiceovering, good voice acting even. That is the power, when all these individual facets that make the games, when they all work together in a synergistic relationship, they create a whole greater than the sum of its parts. And then you take all of that, a very stylized presentation, wonderful music accompaniment that all flows together, that all feels like Persona 5. Every song in this game, the second you hear it's like, oh yeah, this makes sense why it's in this game. Because it fits perfectly. And the visuals are all beautiful, very stylized. The characters are all great. The voice acting is great. The sound design and the visual direction are all on point. And then you combine that with some of the best gameplay of any JRPG that I've ever played. The gameplay is truly amazing, because it's broken off into two parts. And I'm sure you've seen the memes of Persona 5 where you read the back of the box. It's like, go to school, hold a part-time job, yada yada. And it's not the best selling point, right? Like, we can all agree on that. But what Persona 5 does is it blends two different genres that are seemingly polar opposites together, with the dungeon crawling JRPG experience that you all know and come to love if you are experienced with JRPGs, or that you will probably fall in love with if you're new to the genre, alongside this social simulator aspect of the game, where you have a very tight schedule. For most days you can do 2 activities, one during the day, one at night, and you have to plan out the activities you want to do to maximize the stats that you earn, while also leveling up your quote-unquote social links or confidant levels with various characters out in the world. They are out there at various places at different times of the day, various days of the week, maybe depending on the weather, stuff like that. So you have to plan accordingly. Now, you may be wondering, well, that seems kind of contradictory to one another. It seems like if you enjoy one aspect, you might not enjoy the other. Well, what they do is they make these two genres complement one another, because they don't break the pace of one to make you do the other. They literally give you the agency as the player. They put the power to choose in the player's hands as to when you perform these tasks. You may say, hey, right now, I just really want to go and do some dungeon crawling. You can go do that. It's really fun how they're able to, just by allowing you as the player to make a choice as to what you want to do, it makes each individual component more entertaining and more engaging, more gripping. Because you don't feel like you have to do any one thing. If I'm done, and like I'm just kind of like burnt out on the social simulator aspects, I can just go do the main dungeon for that story. Or I can go into the repeating dungeon called Mementos. It's really enjoyable how they put this agency in the player's hands. And not only that, but they don't feel contradictory to one another. They don't just feel like there's a juxtaposition between these two elements. No, they're intertwined. Because those social simulator aspects that you do, they grant you various benefits in the dungeons for you to take advantage of. That's really cool. And I really enjoy how they managed to intertwine those two seemingly polar opposite gameplay genres, but make them work together. As you're leveling up these various characters in the overworld, they give you advantages in the dungeon. Like, it might be so that characters not in your active party gain more XP. Or you may get a discount on battle items in the shop. Stuff like that. Or you may be able to level up your party members in the overworld so that they get more advantages in the dungeon. Like, say, they get a last stand, or they might be able to save you if you're about to get one-banged. Something like that. There's levels to it, it's incremental, but you always feel as if you're progressing something. And that overall sense of incremental progression is core to the overall experience of Persona 5, in my opinion. Because you never feel like you are quote-unquote wasting your time, you are always furthering some objective. Whether that's you decide to spend the day going in the dungeon, or you want to go take a burger challenge, or hell, you want to go just like play some darts. Like, all of these various aspects further your progression in some form or fashion. And the way they're able to intertwine all these mechanics together, while giving you multiple options in how you want to proceed, that's really cool. And for me, that adds some of the biggest charm to Persona 5 as a game. Because of how all these systems work with one another, even when you're not playing the game, you're thinking about what you want to do next. And when a game is able to do that in an engaging manner, where you want to think about the game as much as you can, where you want to play it as much as you can, that's a good indicator for me that you love the game. Now take all of that, and take in consideration that the story and the story presentation and the storytelling is also phenomenal. So I'm not going to go into very specific story spoilers. I'm just going to go like broad strokes here. It tells very human stories and details very human struggles through the use of that JRPG wackiness and larger-than-life setting of quote-unquote stealing people's hearts and desires. It covers various vices and virtues and shows how selfishness can be harmful, while also showing that unselfishness can also be harmful. It's depending upon how you use them. And I love how the game is able to mix true villains that you absolutely despise and that you want to defeat. It juxtaposes those characters with extremely morally gray characterizations that keep you on your toes as to what to expect. You relate to these characters. You understand where they're coming from. You may not agree with them, but you understand where they're coming from. They make you care about these characters. Because to me, Persona 5 is a character-driven story. And it has easily one of the best casts of characters I've ever played in any game. But Persona overall is very good at doing that. Because I would say the same thing for Persona 4 Golden. And even for Persona 3. Atlus knows how to create, write, and develop characters. And the thing with Persona 5 Royal is that it added an entire new section on at the end of the base game. And honestly, that new section is of such high quality, so brilliantly written, with fun and engaging mechanics, that it's honestly one of my favorite game sections of any game I've ever played. It is of that highest echelon of praise that I can bestow, that I can say for any game. The quality of writing, the quality of overall game design in Persona 5 is that high. There is a reason this game has garnered so much hype and attention over the years. And I think one of the genius ways they tell the story in this game is through the use of arcs, right? Where the game is split up into multiple kind of like quote unquote chapters, where they focus on a various aspect, a various moral or theme they want to tell. They develop that along with a couple of characters. They wrap that up with a nice bow, and each section has a nice little conclusion. So you're not waiting till the end of the possibly 100-hour experience for a conclusion. Each chapter gives you this nice sense of finality, this nice sense of, hey, I want a little bit more. I'm wondering where the story is going to go, but I feel satisfied with the story that I just experienced. So you're constantly going through this cycle of experiencing great stories one after another, but they all intertwine with one another with this overarching plot. And the way they do, and the way they did that makes it so you never grow tired of the game. The pacing is so freaking brilliant in Persona 5 Royal. It really is. And the way they structure the story into those narrative arcs, it allows them to tackle various aspects of human desires, while giving a ton of development to various characters. And once an arc is done and a character has been developed, they keep those characters around, they keep those party members around, and you're able to see the effects of that development. Because then they might have a side story that you can do in the social simulator aspects of the game. They never let up with the characterization. No one feels left behind. And the way they're able to pull that off makes each character so well written, so endearing, and so engaging that you are just so... It's hard to formulate into words, right? Because they do character writing and character development. They're probably top 3 in the industry in this, of all time. It's hard to think of a game that has done characterization and character development better than Persona 4 Golden and Persona 5 Royal. Like, I'm genuinely drawing a blank as to who may possibly have done it better. It's a short list. But for all those reasons, for me, that's why I think Persona 5 and Persona 5 Royal is so beloved. So respected in the industry. Because it does what it does very well. And each aspect of the game complements one another, while having incredible pacing, incredible story, incredible storytelling, and incredible gameplay alongside it, along with engaging visuals and a soundtrack that is so good that you will listen to it like by itself. It's that good. So for all those reasons, that's why I love Persona 5 so much. If you have never played Persona, if these ports are going to be your first experience with the game, or if you have played Persona before, let me know in the comments down below. Let me know what you're looking forward to, or what your favorite Persona game or your favorite Persona 5 character is. Let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts, your opinions in the comment section down below. And while you're down there, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out and helps support future content, and I greatly appreciate it. Stay safe out there, everybody. Have a great day, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye, everybody.